We're ready.
Hi.
We're ready.
Thanks for joining us today. We were wondering if we were ready or not. Thanks for joining us today, Val and Roy. And we're in a different classroom today, if you notice, mainly because Val has a class going on, a 3-day class here at Delphi on fusing. And that's the room that we normally shoot these live videos at, but
we're going to hang something.
I know we were going to hang something
to be pretty,
to make it a little nicer. But this is our flame working room. I know you probably can't see a lot of it, but if you hear kind of a little echo, there's a big metal hood kind of hanging over us that.
You could pan down the table just so they can see all stuff.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like behind the scenes.
It's a mess.
We're artists.
Well, we wanted to talk to you today then about fusing, in particular fused ornaments, because we were thinking about, it's getting to be that time of the year, right, when you want to
it's almost Halloween.
You want to think about things like gifts or decorating around the home, and so we wanted to show some quick ways maybe of doing some fusing. So we have a variety of things on the table. I think Kaylee will probably hand to them as we kind of talk about them. For the most part, a lot of them are really not that complicated.
No, we've got a lot of really cute pre-cuts that, fast and really I think are really cute. Now, I'm not always a big fan of some of this kind of stuff, but I mean, these are really cute. And in a pinch, it can go really quick.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about it, right? And then, of course, they're in 90 or 96 COE, so whatever type of glass you use for fusing, we have pre-cuts in both, really. So whatever you like to do. I'm not even sure what the projects are on the table. I'm guessing they're probably a combination of 90, 96.
I was going to say they're ornaments. What do you need? Jeez. And then the decals. Those are really kind of cute.
Yeah, another great thing are these enamel decals. So they're like a water slide decal. You cut out a piece, float it in water, the decal slides off, you apply it to the glass. We have these colored ones, these nice kind of red ones you can see. The gold ones are not, I can't.
The blue?
Oh gosh, I didn't see. Yeah, like here we have these, it's actually like 22 karat gold, which is pretty nice. We're on these coasters, so we have some coasters out here which
they could have been an ornament.
Technically aren't ornaments, but they could be ornaments, right? So
yeah,
we wanted to show you also a couple other things that we had done that were gardens. Well, some people that work here at Delphi had made these garden stakes or that really nice nightlight. Again, they could be ornaments. I mean, there's really not much different. All we have to do is find some way of attaching them.
Not put it on a stick.
Yeah, don't put it. That's probably the first key.
And then you can put a binding. Right. Put one of the little bales of glue on the top. So
Yeah, we wanted to talk about a couple of different ways of how to hang them. Right. So you see a lot of these have bales glued to them. I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes, especially when I'm in a little bit bigger hurry, sometimes it's easier just to do the fusing and then come back and worry about how I'm going to hang it later. One of our favorite things to do is glue on these bales that we would use for jewelry if you're doing like a pendant or something. And they come in gold or the silver, different sizes, different shapes to the bale if that matters to you. And then we would glue them on.
What do we want?
The rapid fuse stuff.
Oh, yes. Here you go.
Thank you. So
it's glue.
It's glue, thanks. So this is the rapid fuse. And what I like using it is it's like a super glue, so it sets up very quickly. So if you're like me and you're really impatient and you just want to kind of get something on there and get going, this one's pretty nice. We also use E6000 sometimes, so it's a pretty nice adhesive. I think the main thing is that, I know for me, is I always like to rough up the surface, like right where I'm going to glue the bale. And then sometimes I rough up the bale a little bit because I sort of have this idea that two rough surfaces grab better than two smooth surfaces. I think we showed something similar in one of our videos when we were doing the nightlights for Halloween. So if you haven't had a chance to see that, you can always check that out on our video section on our Facebook page or on our YouTube channel. If you have questions while Val and I are here, I mean, feel free to send a comment in the video section below, or you can always send us a message on Facebook or Instagram.
Or email us.
You can email us
at facebook@delphiglass.com.
That's it.
Was that right?
That was it. You got it. So we practiced for 5 minutes before we went live, just to make sure.
It seems like we should remember.
We remembered all those
but
things.
You go blank.
A bunch of them.
I know there's a bunch of them.
So one of the things that if you're looking at these, not only are they quick, but it's a great way of using up scraps or smaller pieces of glass that maybe you don't always know what to do with, right? Here's a good example of this one is this nice wreath that's on there. You can see it's just really made up with lots of little small pieces. This tree here is kind of a nice little stylized tree. I don't know if you, it's really quite dimensional, which I think is kind of fun. So you can see that these canes, and I grabbed a couple of the canes just to kind of show you what they look like. And again, these come in 90 or 96. There's also these kind of fun twisted canes that come in a package, and you can get a variety of styles and color in one package. These are kind of fun. They're a great way of kind of decorating the outside of that. In this particular one too, it's just a single piece of glass. So there was really, we had to cut a triangle and then put the canes on there. So it was.
And
again,
most of them are
difficult.
one layer, right? Just for weight purposes. You only need
Yes.
one layer, and it really makes them feel nice and light. So the coasters down there, the blue ones. I mean, if you hold it, you can reach it. Yeah, hold it up. Yeah, you can see the difference. It's the standard 2 thickness thing, which I think lends itself better to a coaster and not a nightlight or not a ornament, right?
Yeah.
But it really is. You can do them either way. So the for the ornaments, so I think that the single layer. I think a lot of times some people get a little confused about that one layer thing.
Yeah, they think they can't. do
Or
one
it'll
layer
distort,
because,
but we're not. If you look at these, they're not. They're not fused flat. So we've left some texture with the whatever the gingerbread guy or the Christmas lights. We leave it raised a little bit, which tells you we weren't at a full fuse. So therefore, we're not going to distort that one layer underneath. So I think sometimes that gets a little confusing for
Yeah,
people.
I think so too, because a lot of times we're always trying to stick with what we call the 1/4 inch rule, right? Where we're trying to stay at a 1/4 inch when we're fusing, and then we think sometimes that we can't go beyond that. But as Val was mentioning, I mean, we did some at a 1/4 inch. They're just too heavy, I think, for a tree a lot of times. When you're doing the ornaments, so we like doing a lot of these that are a single layer with just some decoration on the surface, and because of that, we're doing more of like a contour fuse, I like to call it, right? So something that is a little beyond a tack fuse, but not quite a full fuse. And I think Kaylee probably is definitely going to be posting the firing schedule to that if you're interested. Again, nothing too overly complicated, I don't think. One thing I also want to point out too is that a lot of these are made from pre-cut circles. So these are definitely 96 because there's 96 circles that come in these nice 4-inch circles, and they come in clear, white, or black. So that's kind of nice. I mean, these smaller ones, we cut out and then, had to do a little grinding on them. Put the decal on, it goes pretty fast. The other thing I wanted to show you as far as kind of adornment or something is the dichroic glass.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see that in some of these pieces, but
The zigzags
these kind
are
of fun zigzags or these different shapes it's a great way of just adding some color, adding a lot of design without really having to. I mean,
Yeah, they're really pretty.
they're pretty
And
pretty
they come
easy
in.
to put together.
They come in those tubes, right?
Yeah, they come up, they come like this in these large tubes that come with, as you can sort of see, if Kaylee can kind of show you, it's hard to show without pulling them all out, but they come in a variety of colors and shapes. You'll see some are slightly textured, which we're seeing here. Some are clear, right? So the dichroic coating here is on clear and not on black, which is fun if you're putting it on a color and you want some of the base color to show through. If I can show you a cast one here, Kaylee, that blue one right there, that's in front of you, right? So this one was done in a casting mold, but the dichroic coating here is on clear because we don't really want it on black because we want to be able to still see the blue. So that one's kind of fun. And I
think it'd be easier to see.
Val has the mold that she's going to show you what's done with that. I don't know. Again, another quick way of doing some.
Yeah, these are really cute.
A quick way of doing some ornaments, right? So you can see how this one was cast in there. The other thing you might notice is that, look how, again, it's relatively thin. So a lot of times I know when we do castings, we often try to go a little bit thicker because we're working with frit and we're trying to keep it, in the mold, and we want it to hold the shape of the design that's in there. But these are cast at a little thinner, so the firing temperature, again, is a little lower. One way of stopping the glass from wanting to pull in a whole lot is just try to keep the temperature a little lower than what we normally would. We got some different snowflakes too that are kind of fun to use. These are a real kind of nice, quick way to
Can you see it? You want to take it out?
use
Or can you
that.
see?
Oh, we can see that.
Let's see.
Sure. looks like there's even still a little bit of dichroic in this one.
Yeah,
To me,
there's
it's
a little bit of
sparkly.
There's a little bit of blue.
Crazy.
in there or something.
Yeah, so sometimes, depending on, like, if you're familiar with frit, we'll use like a fine or even a medium, and that will give you a kind of a nice texture to them, and then that catches the light and makes them look a little more sparkly, if that's a word.
That is a word.
Sparkly.
It comes from the word sparkle.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that English lesson. I really appreciate that a lot. The other casting, since we're talking about casting, let me show you this other one. This one is kind of fun too. Here's one
That is cute.
that was done in a mold. And there's a few different molds that have different, kind of holiday themed pieces. And you can see here where the tree just gets cast, and you can get this really kind of fun outline. I don't know how well this shows up on in the video, but there is dichroic in here. And so, we have these different types of dichroic that come in either frit, or these are called flakes. And again, I don't know how well that shows up. You can see how small those little particles are, but man, do they ever look fun in something like this, where it just adds just a little bit more color, a little more sparkle. And it doesn't take a lot to do that either. The other thing you can do with these is actually after fusing this part, you can set it on another piece of glass and do like a tack fuse if you don't want it to be hollow like this is. You could do a solid one, which we don't have an example of, but
I like it like that.
yeah, these are kind of fun like this, right?
Plus, they're lightweight. That's a lot. I mean, if you
Yeah.
really truly do want to use them as a tree ornament, you have to keep the weight down. Otherwise, they just don't hang well. Or
kind of bend down a whole lot.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to, since I know we talked a little earlier about gluing bales to the back of the pieces, but another great way of hanging them is using some kind of a metal insert to fuse them with. And we have this piece here that, so we fuse the wire right into the glass. So this particular one, if you see, the package actually comes with two of the stockings. And so we just, took one of these nice hangers. These are from the Handy Hanger people. And slide that between the two layers. And then just when you're doing your fuse, in this case, like I said, we're not doing quite a full fuse, but it's hot enough to fuse that wire in there, and then you can just hang it from that. I guess it just depends on which approach you want to take with how you want to hang them. Oh, the other thing we have are these kind of fun name tags, right? Or package tags. These kind of fun things. Again, just a single layer, and in this situation, we're just getting it hot enough where you can see we're fusing the decals on there. And what's nice about a lot of the decals is that the firing temperatures on them sometimes are relatively low. My advice to people always is, whatever decal you're buying, an enamel decal, you should read the package and listen to the manufacturer's firing schedule, because they are specific to the decal. I mean, some decals will only fire in the low 1100, and then others, like the gold, I know can go up to a full fuse. I mean, we've taken the gold ones up to full fuses before, but some of the other ones are a little more delicate than that, and you need to fire them at a little bit lower temperature, so you want to keep that in mind when you're kind of planning your project. You might see some decoration or some writing on some of the pieces, Abby's name or the cord here for the lines. This is actually a paint. And so we have a couple of different kinds of paints. We have Color Line. Thank you, Val, for getting those for me. And we have these glass line paints. They come in, you can buy them on a set where you get a variety of colors, or buy them individually. What's also nice is you can also buy these. I stuck one on this one so you could see it. You can buy these metal tips so you can get a finer line if you're trying to really do some delicate work with the glass paints. I think it's sometimes, especially when you're writing letters and things, it makes it a little easier if you have a little smaller tip to that.
For sure.
But another great paint that we also use is something called Milton Bridge, and these are enamels. And one of the differences between them is that enamels are, when they fire, they're shinier, and they really don't have much dimension to them, so they're pretty flat to the glass, which can be kind of nice. I find that the color, the glass line paints tend to be a little thicker on the surface of the glass, and that gives you a nice look. If you see our gnomes that look like garden stakes, but they're really not. But
What are they?
they're holiday decorations. You stick those
They're
in your
plant
pine
stakes.
trees.
Stick it in the
There you
plant.
go.
Okay.
But do you see the nose on the gnomes there? That was done with a paint, with a glass line paint. So you can see how it has a little bit of a dimension to it, which is kind of, I think, one of the nice features about that. And then we have one of the gnomes almost cut out here. So this was something that Val had done earlier. And one of the things that, again, we've talked about a couple times, but we just want to kind of reiterate the whole you know, if you're working with more than one layer of glass, you have to be careful about how hot you're going, right? Because if we go too hot, the glass will start shrinking and pulling in and distorting because it wants to be a quarter of an inch. So again, we're just staying down in the high 1300s, low 1400s, somewhere in that temperature range. But again, Kaylee will give you a firing schedule.
We will.
When we get done.
And something to note too, these guys, yes, like Roy was saying, has glass line pen or enamel. For the tags, we just use Sharpie. So these could be wiped off and used next year, or if you put them on a gift to someone else, they can then re-gift them next year themselves. So the gift that keeps on giving there.
Yeah, that's a great idea, right? I mean, that's pretty easy. So, oh, I wanted to show these also real quick. These don't, without some light in them, they sometimes it's hard to see them. These kind of dimensional looking ornaments. If you can see kind of this one with a tree, and then if you look at the back of it, the tree looks raised here. And then on this green one, if you see this one with the kind of the tree there, it looks like it's embossed on the inside, right? So these were done with fiber paper. I think there's a piece right there. This is the 1/8 inch fiber paper. I'm not sure if you've worked with this before, but what's nice about it is you can literally cut out almost any design with just a pair of regular scissors. And then that goes on the shelf, and then you put the glass on top of that and fire it, and then it, you know, the glass forms around whatever your fiber shape is, and you get that design right into the glass.
And it's just like thin fire, so you don't need to coat the fiber paper with anything. It will release from the glass by itself.
Yep. And then, in the kiln, so we were, as we're often doing for these demonstrations, kind of rushing around getting some things done. And I was telling Val, I'm like, I want to do another snowflake. So just this morning, I threw one in this little kiln, and I thought I'd open it up, take a look at it. So this one is one that I had done where I just cut some thin strips of glass. In these cases, that's just a square I threw in the middle to kind of hold everything together. Oh, yep, it stays together. That's nice.
Nice.
The tips are, I cut a little square for the tips, and then I kind of nipped them so they looked a little more rounded. That's all I did. And you can see the heat of the kiln here just rounds up the tip. While I was doing that, also, if you look in the kiln, I was making some little noses for the gnome. These were just made out of little pieces of glass, so you can see that. So I cut squares. I don't know if you've done this before in your kiln, but if you cut little squares, and I actually stacked 2 little tiny squares on top of each other. This kiln, since I was running so fast, I took it up to 1500 degrees. And so at those temperatures, the glass just wants to round up and ball up pretty good. Here, where it's just a single layer of glass, we can get away with that going fast and getting it hot because this is iridized, and I don't know how well you can see that. And so the iridized coating on the clear kind of helps the glass stay in place. But the nice thing about those temperatures, again, is that it rounds up the tips, and so everything's nice and soft. There's no sharp edges. Everything's fused together, as you can see. And then we can just put some string on that and hang it or whatever. So
Yeah, pretty.
Yeah, it's
Turned
all right.
out pretty.
thanks.
I like the noses too. I think they're the little pink noses with the glass are kind of because they kind of ball up more. I like that.
Yeah, it is, and well, you know, it's glass, right? So I feel the same way. I'm always thinking everything's got to be all glass, but in a quick way, right? Of just making some design elements, which reminds me of just one other thing here was there's a couple of these projects where these are little tiny round balls, right? So you could do the same thing we did with the noses, where you can just cut little pieces and then fire them pretty hot in the kiln until they round up. Or we also have these bags of they're dots, they call them. So they're already into a round shape, which is actually how these were done. So and the same thing with the background here in the tier. And then they come in different color packages. This happens to be the rainbow mix. I grabbed this one just to show you. And so they're nice and dimensional, but they do round up in the kiln and kind of add some nice decoration. Again, lots of things that don't really take a lot of time. I don't know, again, if you're like me, but I'm often fusing on Christmas Eve or maybe Christmas morning once or twice.
And all of them, if you know, even if you're not making them to hang on the tree or for yourself, the pre-cuts, the dots, all that stuff to do them quickly are really nice to like attach to a package, you know, to give you some, you know, I mean, it didn't take you a lot of time and you can do them, multiples of them probably in one firing, and then it would just be really cute, wouldn't it? To get, I would like it if somebody gave me one of those on my package. So
Note to self for what we're getting Val this year.
That's right. Well, that's okay. Ideas.
Yeah, plenty of glass, right?
I do have glass, yes. So
Well, otherwise, I think that's probably covered. I think
Yeah.
most of the things we wanted to talk about. If we, again, if you have questions, feel free to email us at facebook@delphiglass.com, or you can always send us a message on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll always try to answer right away as quickly as we can. So,
Right. We'll try.
Alright.
Kaylee's good at it. Oh, Kaylee's good at it.
And we'll post, like Roy was saying, the contour firing schedule for these pre-cut ornaments. And then I will get from Roy just the fast segment he did for the snowflake here this morning. And we'll share those along with a link for some of the products that we're showing here on these projects.